I wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences of actually bootstrapping a company in a way that you could take from today and go out and implement. The number one thing that I really want to kind of instill upon you today is the biggest absence that I see in people that sometimes struggle. Everybody has it, but they don't activate, is what I call your execution muscle. Your ability to go out and act upon the ideas that you have in your head, right? That ability to actually act. That there's this whole kind of esoteric space that we call, okay, I've got this kind of idea and I've got this strategy. And we're going to be talking a little bit about strategy and actions and kind of tools and techniques that you can go out and implement in the world. But nothing is ever going to get done, absolutely ever, if you don't just build a framework for actually executing, actually just doing stuff, right? Guys, you want to make money from your businesses and you want to grow really fast and you want to change your life. Use any means necessary to do what you can. Now, don't send stupid emails, don't spam people. But of course, if you want to send a smart targeted email, then why not? I respond to every email that I get. Rob even forwards me the spammy emails that he receives from these Indians because I say yes to absolutely everybody. It's how I developed a Craigslist automation thing that generates business for me. Because I say yes to everybody, because I'm like, yeah, 5-minute call, 5-minute call. What's your offer? How much does it cost? Let's see. This guy's like, dude, I can bring you leads from Craigslist. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, what's the cost? He was like, 50 quid. No, he was like, a couple hundred quid a month. I was like, can we do a trial, 2 weeks, 50 quid? He was like, yeah, cool. So I said yes. I reverse engineered his process. I dumped him, and then I started doing it myself. And I would never have done that had I not said yes. So I answer cold email. I think there's other people in here that might answer cold email. I answer it to the extent that I ask Rob to forward me his cold emails that he gets, and he'll vouch for that. So definitely, and I think that the reality here is that you need to kind of apply the 10x rule to the things that you do. Assume if it's useful to you, there's people like me that are doing 10 times the amount of activity that you are in the same period. And when you think on that, because I think on that basis as well, right? And when I think like that, I'm like, hey, Juan, come in.
How are you doing?
Hey, good to see you. So Juan is another local resident. We met in a cafe. I spoke with him as well at Chelsea Football Club. Juan, come and have a seat. Okay, cool, perfect. Yeah. Go ahead. So I found that to be really useful. Like if you really take a hard look at the activity that you're doing, you'll quickly discover that you could be doing 10 times more than you're doing. And what's really interesting is that it doesn't mean it takes 10 times the amount of time. This is often the biggest second obstacle that people have in their head. That Deepak, I don't have as many hours as you. Deepak, I only got 6 hours a week. I've got a long commute home. My dog's ill. My wife is mad at me. I've got to make rent and kind of all of this stuff that comes up, right? So what's really powerful in situations like that? I mean, does that resonate with anybody that they're time poor? That they feel that I've got a limited amount of time to really run my business? Cool. So we've got one there. We had another nod there. Ravi's nodding his head. Everyone, okay, perfect. So if you've got for those who have got lots of time, amazing. The question that you should really ask is, how can I 10x the amount of activity in the time that I have? When you start reframing the question, then it becomes really powerful. Like, how can I do 10 times the amount of stuff in the 1 hour that I've got? What could I do to expand my time, right? So when you start asking yourself the right questions, you start finding answers. So one of the things I really quickly discovered when I was giving instruction to people, I was like, oh my God, this sucks saying the same thing 10 times a day. So I started screencasting absolutely everything that I had to explain to somebody. So if you were to work for me today, there's 100 videos that you need to watch to go through every fucking process. Probably 30% of them are redundant. But it saves me from repeating myself. Because if I want to show you how to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator and a LinkedIn automation tool, and I know that maybe in 3 months you're going to go off on your jolly kind of ride, it's going to really suck if I have to explain it to somebody else again. And that has been a way that I've been able to create time. So that small instance, think about how that applies to what you do, right? And we'll go through a couple of practical things right now. These are all what I call massive time savers. If your laptop takes more than 45 seconds to get onto the internet, throw your laptop away. because mine takes 30 seconds, and every time I open it up and open up my windows, over time that's going to compound massively. The second thing that does is create momentum. I'm busy in the process of doing the work instead of trying to get access to the work because, oh, it's taking ages. That creates peace of mind that allows me to open 15 tabs at one time. It allows me to do lots of other things. So if it takes more than 45 seconds to load, figure it out. The same thing applies to your phone. Right? If you haven't worked out how to switch from WhatsApp to email to LinkedIn within 15 seconds, then it's taking too long. Fix it. So look at the core infrastructural things that you do as a part of your processes and really ask yourself if you're doing them as fast as you could. Because that's been one of the big ways that I've also been able to create time to allow me to build pipelines, because you know what? I can get onto LinkedIn faster than you. Sounds silly, but I'm on LinkedIn 100 times a day. That means I'm 100 times, in 100 instances across one day, I'm getting onto the platform that's going to generate business for me every day. Does that make sense to everybody? And that's one of the things that like really massively surprises me when I sometimes look at people with their machines. Are you using all the plugins? Are you using all the tools? Are you using all the shortcuts? If you're not, if you're not, use them. If it feels like it's hard work, of course, it's going to be. It's just kind of how the game is. And you know, I think that one of the biggest discoveries I certainly personally had when I went to apply, for example, to the Special Forces, was that I thought that I was operating at a pretty high kind of operating standard, right? And then I met these men that were like fucking up here in terms of their ability to do swims, to run across mountains with Bergens, in terms of their tactical intelligence, with even something small as how they would remove themselves from their sleeping bag and crawl, go through undetected at night, to all of these drills and operations, right? And it was really depressingly hard and painful getting drilled massively upon weapons training, upon ordnance, upon IEDs, upon counterterrorism, upon first aid, like 6 to 9 hours of lessons day upon day, and then you get tested instantly, right? And sometimes, some of the things I'm talking to you about now are probably going to feel a little bit like that. It's going to be like, whoa, Deepak, that's a lot of information. That's like a lot of stuff. And that's what I call building your execution muscle. Because that's it. It's the same as doing HIIT training. It's painful, and it's not a lot of fun when you're trying to optimize 15 things at once, and your brain's going to say, this hurts, this sucks. Good. It's meant to, because then you will slowly increase your minimum operating standard. And you will see the difference over time at how you operate versus the people around you. You're just going to kind of do that. And that kind of core principle with listing on profiles, with deciding to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, with thinking, okay, so I'm messaging these people on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. How can I automate this? Because this is really boring. Okay, let me Google LinkedIn automation tool. Oh, wow, there's these tools that I can use. Okay, let's just try and use that tool. The actual act of doing all of those things is actually relatively quite quick. It's this thing that slows you down. It's, oh, well, what about LinkedIn terms of service? Oh, well, this tool looks quite good, but it's $20 a month, and this is $15 a month. Oh, I'm not sure. This might be really good. That might be a little. These are what I call kind of BS problems that really prevent you from actually being a success. And then you'll, and this is the part that's going to be funny. And then we'll all go out, obviously, and spend 50 quid down the pub with our mates. And then you kind of rationalize it. Build your execution muscle. Force yourself to spend things that will deliver you a massive return over time. So one of the other things I did was that, I will allocate like 50 quid. Now it's grown as I've got more money. But in the beginning, when I really had no money, I allocated £50 a month to what I called punts. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to put a Gumtree ad up. BB, the only reason I put a Gumtree ad up recently was because I was talking to Ravi in the back room about the process of Gumtree as an actual area for getting leads. So I put one up as an example, and then you contacted me.
Well, I got this group, and I don't know anything about it, about the topics that they wanted.
Yep.
So I said, I can't deliver this, I have to get somebody else to deliver it. And where else could I go? I'll try Gumtree and see if there are people there. And I got a few. Really you.
Absolutely. So that's like serendipity for you, and the randomness of that happening only really happened because I've really worked hard to shorten the space between what I think about and actually doing what I think about. Does that make sense to everybody? Is there anybody here who has a problem with that or thinks that, oh, I don't quite get it? Okay, cool, brilliant. So far so good. And you know, the reason I've hammered on so much about this stuff is because there isn't going to be a singular strategy that I'll give you that's definitely going to work for you today, right? It's not that LinkedIn Sales Navigator is going to be the way. There's lots of things that you can do, but if you go out and figure out how to do 100 things in like an hour, and you'll fail because that's really hard. But the act of doing it will allow you to build speed over time. And that's kind of what's been very, very useful for me in my journey as I've built those case studies, as I've been like, right, let me try and automate LinkedIn. Right, maybe I should cold email. How do I cold email? Okay, I'm going to go on YouTube. Okay, let me go on YouTube. Let me Google how to cold email. Okay, cool. There's these 10 different blog articles. Okay, cool. Let me put them all up in 10 tabs. Oh, my MacBook loads up in 30 seconds. Yours loads up in a minute. Haha, I'm going to beat you. All right, cool. Let me find these. Does it make sense what I'm saying? That how you can really compress your learning. And when you can do that on a consistent basis, the volume of information that you're able to assimilate, because you're going to pick out 10% from all the things that you go to, right? Pop, pop, a little bit here, a little bit there. It's going to really integrate and compound over time. So now, in the final 10 minutes that we've got, let's go through very quickly some of those questions that people asked about. So, Femi, you asked about tattoos. Let's talk about that. So I got my first tattoo when I was 18. I was drunk in a bar in Koh Phangan in Thailand. I was backpacking before university, and I was with a chap called Mike from Kent. Got drunk and started talking with an Irish accent. He was fully Kent, but his family were from Ireland, and we got in lots of trouble with that because he'd want to get aggressive. But we had a bet when we were drunk that if he got his lip pierced, I'd get a tattoo. And then at the bar, there happened to be a tattooist. And then 20 minutes later, I was getting tattooed. So that was the beginning of that journey. That was at 18. My first tattoo was Orm on my back, and that was the first tattoo that I presented to my family, because I thought, well, mummy and daddy are going to be pissed because they're British Indians, and well, I'm British Indian, they're Indian Indians, and they're like, you know, my dad would be like, Deepak, what have you done? Oh my God, this is not good. What did you get? I got Om. Oh. Okay, let me take a look. Oh, it's quite nice. So you know, there's that whole thing, and that has evolved into, fuck it, let me just do more of them because I enjoy them. And I haven't really, I've gone on to just get loads of tattoos, dude. That was the first one. The second one was Sitaram, my mum and dad's name. And I started slowly, and then I began increasing my volume. I went from getting 1 hour, 2 hour tattoo times to let's do a fucking 8 hour day, fuck it. And then you find out when you rock up that that's a really dumb thing to do. And that was kind of a journey in of itself. So that's been does that answer your question? And I've got spelling mistakes, I've got cover-ups, I've got like some, you know, I've got what I thought was my rap CD cover that looks like an omelette on my leg, basically. People are like, dude, this looks ridiculous. So I've got like a whole variety of things. Did you have a question? Okay, cool. So that answers the question about tattoos a little bit, I think.
So do you regret any of them?
Oh no, absolutely not. There you go. Yeah, exactly. It's the thinking. No, I don't. I think that they're great stories, especially the mistakes. They're the best stories. You know, I was an English literature student, and I was in Florianópolis in Brazil, and I'm rocking up to the actual tattoo place with my mate, and he's like, dude, have you spelled unknown fucking wrong? And I was like, oh, it's her fault. It's like, dude, she doesn't speak any fucking English. It's clearly, so that was quite funny. So yeah, there have been moments like that. So LinkedIn growth was another one. Cool. So I have 50 recommendations. Go out and get your mum, your son, your dad, your auntie, uncle, Sam to all write your recommendations, number one. Number two, post consistently. I post a status update every damn day. The mechanics of building your LinkedIn profile are not that hard to say. They're hard to do. But it's a little bit like I have much more opportunity to go viral, as I have done a couple of times, because I'm in the game a lot more than you are. And the sheer fact of being in the room, Woody Allen talks about 80% of life is just showing up. LinkedIn is a playground, show up on LinkedIn. So the thing to play devil's advocate, the thing that I would say is come back to me when you've posted consistently for 90 days and let's see what your growth looks like. And always be connecting. I accept every connection request that I get ever. I don't make any pairing decisions because some of the business that I've got You know, I generate maybe 15 to 20, about 15 grand kind of revenue just from LinkedIn, people that approach me. And my biggest client to date approached me as a consequence of a student who seemingly had nothing to do with my business. I accepted it and I was like, hey mate, thank you for kind of, you know, responding. And then he liked my post and then it came up in his news feed and then he approached me. So hopefully that underlines the power of just accepting absolutely everybody. Like what, you know, size, in terms of your social network, guess what? It does fucking matter. So build it, I'd say. So does that answer your question about LinkedIn? Any more questions specifically about LinkedIn?
Do you, what kind of messaging sequence do you have on LinkedIn?
I use Linked Helper, which is a LinkedIn automation tool. And then I have Rebecca, who is kind of my virtual assistant or whatever. She's full-time. She will go in and have a standardized message that she sends to absolutely everybody. So she logs in every 48 hours and she'll say, hey Femi, thank you so much for responding to me. This is my Facebook Messenger bot. This is what I do. If you want to talk, let's talk. And then she'll send that out to, you know, I'll get approximately maybe 30 requests, like 15 requests a day. She'll accept everybody. And that will always generate a steady flow of inbound leads.